Hi there, my name is Ian Martin and welcome to this bonus episode of the Ski Podcast, all about the speed opening downhill races coming up in Zermatt this autumn. I start off by talking to Christian Ziojian, the director of the races, talk to him about the origins of the race, what they're going to need to be able to actually make it happen. And then the second part of this podcast is an interview with Pirmin Zurbriggen. Now, many of you will know him as one of the greatest ski racers of all time. So with that opportunity, I actually delved a little bit further than just the racing itself and talked to him about his racing career and what advice he'd offer to young racers. The speed opening races should be very interesting. They'll be the first cross-border races going from Switzerland into Italy, and they're 4 downhills, 2 men's, 2 women's, all coming up this autumn. So have a listen and enjoy. Great. Well, I'm here with Christian Ziojian, who is director of the speed opening event here in Zermatt. It's going to be taking place this autumn in October and November. And it's going to be making history because it's going to be the first cross-border downhill race in the world. I think probably the highest. So nice to meet you, Christian. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks. Nice to meet you too.
To put on a race that goes across borders from one country to another has certainly never been done before. I think I'm right in saying that, aren't I? And I think I'm right in saying as well that it'll be the highest ever downhill race in terms of the start. So whose idea was this to come up with such a kind of crazy idea in the first place?
Yes, so the idea to have a World Cup race in Zermatt is born many years before,
right?
Actually, and people always talked about it, always dreamed about it, but it remained a dream actually.
Okay.
And then I guess it was 2019, so not more than 2 or 3 years ago,
right?
When the cableway company from Cervinia, from the Italian part of the ski area, came up with the idea to do a cross-border ski race.
Right.
And then, as you may know, my president of our committee is the president of the committee of the cableway company in Switzerland. And so he took the idea and he created, with his negotiation skills, he created the committee and then worked very quickly forward to establish these races.
Okay, so it's been 3 years in the planning to come together, and I'm guessing, with so many different stakeholders involved, you've got the Italians and the Swiss and everybody within the resort themselves. Must be quite difficult. There must be a lot of politics involved to be able to make this happen. It's a pretty major achievement. Was it a straightforward process bringing everyone together?
Yeah, actually, yes, because we're not, if you look at other committees, they have a large history or a long history. If you see Wengen, they have, I guess, 80 years of history, and they started with a small race, maybe with 3-4 people in the committee, and it was growing, and they have their structures. But we said, we are new now, we have a new organization, we can also create a modern or a new type of an organization. And that's why we integrated the ski federations, the national ski federations, so the Swiss Ski Federation, the Italian Ski Federation. We integrated in our committee also the 2 cableways and the 2 tourism offices that we have in the region, so from the Swiss part and the Italian part. And this, as the fact that they are in our committee, it gets a bit easier, the political stuff.
So to have everybody sitting around the table at once, so you can bring things together, so you're not making decisions outside and then saying to someone, this is what we've looked at.
That's right.
And does it fit in as well with the Alpine crossing opening? I know that's not quite due until perhaps spring of next year, but the 3S lift system that is so impressive, that goes up from here in Zermatt up to Klein Matterhorn. Listeners might not be aware, but that is going to continue. So from the top of Klein Matterhorn, there's going to be a continuation of that 3S crossing, which is a very modern cable car, from Klein Matterhorn to Testa Grigia on the Italian side. I think it's going to be built on Swiss soil, but linking to the Italian side. So there's already a physical link happening between Zermatt and Cervinia. Is this part of that philosophy somehow?
Yes, not somehow. This actually is the base why they came up with the idea to do this cross-border event. So they talked about this project, and then the idea was created. As I told you before, the idea of the Italian partners was created. Hey, if we have this cross-border cable car connection, we could also come up with a cross-border ski race. But then we are now a bit earlier with the ski race than the cable car. We were asked by the FIS to move on and to do a first edition of the races this year. But actually in our mind it was always 2023. So to be sure that the logistics are getting easier, and we have more facilities to host people, to work with people, and
right. So that's really interesting to me. So FIS kind of brought the race forward, because I had a look at the race calendar for FIS World Cup races for this winter, and the way the races are working out is they fill a gap which would otherwise be there in that calendar between the races, the GS races that start off in Solden in mid-October, I think, and then going on to Lech and elsewhere after that. So there's going to be 2 weekends. Was it always, when you were thinking about this race and first talking to FIS, were you always thinking about having it, early in the calendar like this, in October, November, in the autumn?
Yes, for sure, because there are several reasons. So maybe the first one is we didn't want to take anybody else's race. I knew some years ago there were rumors that Zermatt want to take the race from Wengen, but these are really just rumors, and we didn't want to take a race from anybody, and that's one point. And the second point is that we do not want to establish a race during the high winter season. That doesn't make sense, actually, from a touristic part of view. And for us, the third thing maybe is we are at the beginning of the season now with our race. The whole broadcasting, or all the pictures are sent out into the world, the whole ski world, and we can do also from a touristic point of view, we can do a good promotion for our ski areas in Zermatt.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about there. I mean, it's going to be great promotion across the world very early on. I spend a lot of time with my clients looking at the best times to promote holidays, and we see there's quite a long lead time from people doing their research to actually booking. And this event will happen, in the autumn when people are doing that. I mean, 1 week before, I'll be at the UK's major consumer ski show in Birmingham, and we'll be talking, about this. It's a shame there was going to be one in London, which would have coincided with the first weekend of the racing, and I'd suggested to them, put it up on the big screen, this will be fantastic. That's not going ahead this year, but hopefully it'll happen for next year as well. And, I also see the point you're making there about it not impacting on the tourist season, because logistically, there's a huge impact there. Because just to clarify, for listeners who might not know, we're talking about, 4 different downhill races across 9 days, I think. Right. So the first weekend, there's 2 men's downhill races. Right. And then the second weekend, 2 women's downhill races. And in between, there's lots of training and practice, etc. Are you expecting all of the athletes from the different continents to turn up for this? You think it will be a good turnout?
Yeah, I guess so. So we're quite confident that all the athletes want to participate. Yeah, we heard some... also, no, it's not rumors, but news that I guess Michaela Schifrin said that she will not come here, but for I don't know the reasons, real reasons. But we're quite confident, because all the racers competing in the World Cup, they want to win points for the World Cup. They're not it's not a training race.
Yeah.
It's competition.
Yeah.
And they want to show what they to show the outcome of their training during summer and autumn. And I'm quite confident that they all will show up here.
Yeah, and there's a clue in the name of the race, which or the way you've designated it as speed opening.
Yeah, right.
This is the first downhill race of the season. Yeah. It is the speed opening for the FIS World Cup, and so therefore there's an opportunity to come out. And just remind me, so when there's two men's downhill races, in consecutive days, it'll be on the same course with the same athletes. Yeah,
right.
And for speed opening then, you've been in discussion with FIS for quite some time. Is there a kind of commitment to a certain number of years that the event will go ahead?
Yes, so we spoke with FIS to do it several years, and we are hoping now that we can do it several years. So we give everything to create an absolute great event here, not only for spectators, but also for the FIS and the athletes, a fair event. And so we are also here we're confident to have it several years. And yes, our dream is to have, if we look back in 50 years, maybe that we created a classic like other races.
Well, that would be great. And the course itself, I was reading, has been designed by Didier Défago, who is a Swiss downhiller. He won the gold medal at the Vancouver Olympics in 2010 in the downhill. So he's certainly very well qualified to talk about the race itself. Unusually, I mentioned earlier, it's going to be the highest ever downhill. So it's going to start around 3,800 metres. I think in the first year, just while the work is going on the Alpine crossing, it'll start slightly lower. And go down to about 2,800 metres on the Italian side. So it's going to be about 4 kilometres long with a drop of 1 kilometre, 1,000 metres, with a big jump scheduled in for the end, right?
Yes. So they're actually, we're not sure about the number of jumps now because the terrain, it depends a bit on the terrain. We are now working on the terrain.
Right.
Also on the glacier, and depends a bit, but real jumps are planned 3 of each. So slightly after the start, there will be a jump on the glacier on the Swiss part, and then in the lower part on the Italian side, there's actually the huge jump that we planned, or Didier Défago planned. But now I guess they talked also a bit for security reasons. They talked not to go straight over the jump and fly 80 meters. They will do some turns and jump will end in a turn, so it's getting a bit less dangerous, I guess. And then there's the finish jump,
right?
That is called Salto Laghe Cime Bianche, and this one also we think will take some meters.
Right. Okay. Excellent. So it should be quite spectacular at the end as well. I mean, the nature of racing over a glacier. Glaciers don't tend to be particularly steep. They tend to be a bit more gentle. But putting in those jumps will make it really interesting. Now, I have to come to what I don't know if this expression works in Swiss Deutsch or whatever. But the elephant in the room, the thing that we have to talk about that maybe we don't want to, which is currently in Zermatt the glacier is normally open 365 days a year. But this summer, it closed early, and I think everyone listening to this will be aware that we've had an exceptionally warm summer. That's been the case, all over Europe and all over the world. I wondered whether the decision to close the glacier was in part to protect it for the downhill for later on. No, so there are really 2 different points. The first one is summer skiing, and it's not only the warm temperatures, it was also the lack of snow in spring, or the storage for the snow on the glacier that wasn't there, and so it melted away very quickly. And the first point is the summer skiing, and the other one is the winter skiing, like end of October, it's like winter up here. So for the winter skiing, yes, we need snow, or for our races, we need snow. And the summer skiing now didn't have enough of snow, and it was too warm to have a secure skiing up there, so they decided to close the cableways. And I understand very well, but this was never
the point to close it to protect the glacier.
Okay. No, I understand that. I mean, you said there's work going on up there. Are you confident conditions will be good enough for the race to go ahead in October and November?
Yes. Now I have to be confident at this very moment because I have to work every day on the project, not only me, but the whole team. And yes, there's still 2 months to go. And we have to be ready like 10 days in advance before the race with all the snow. And we say we need a half a meter of snow on the glacier. That's not much.
Yeah.
And for the lower part that is not on the glacier, so 1/3 of the slope, everything is ready to produce technical or artificial snow. And there we need 3, 4, 5 days of cold weather to produce the snow. But for sure, it would be better if you have a good amount of natural snow.
For sure. Well, I think, everybody wants the temperatures to drop and, snow to come down. And you mentioned there about the final section of the race, which is on the Italian side, so it's south facing. But those slopes there already have snow cannons on them, do they?
Yes, they're ready. Today is the 1st of September, so from today on they could produce snow. They are ready since yesterday.
Right, okay, because obviously there's no cannons on the glacier itself. So, but you're able to create artificial snow there. You need about 50 centimetres of snow up on the glacier, which doesn't sound like very much, but that's because you can move it around and put it into place.
Yes, and the glacier, is the surface is quite flat. So they are now, securing the crevasse. So closing the crevasse, and after this you have a flat surface, and then you just need a bit of snow, and the base is ice. If you have rocks, you need 2 meters of snow or 3 meters of snow.
Yeah, and I think although everybody would like to see huge amounts of snow, it was quite interesting with Beijing at the Winter Olympics this year. They were able to put on lots of snow events despite the fact there wasn't actually a huge amount of natural snow in the area. I definitely want that to go ahead. I want it to be really cold as well, and I'm really looking forward to this race. I'm certainly going to be following it really closely because I love Zermatt. In general, I said to you, before we started recording, I worked out here a long time ago, and I try and come back and visit as much as I can. So just to clarify then, the dates that the races are going to be going ahead is the first weekend for the men's downhills are going to be on the 29th and the 30th of October. And then the following weekend, we'll have 2 women's downhills on the 5th and 6th of November.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'm sure anyone who's interested, it will be covered all over the world. So I'll certainly be looking out for it and watching it. And that's brilliant, Christian. I wish you all the best for speed opening, and thanks very much for giving me your time today.
Thanks a lot.
Let's move on to the second part of this bonus episode, which is an interview with Pirmin Zurbriggen, the gold medal winning and multiple World Cup winning ski racer who is based in Saas-Fee but is an ambassador for speed opening in Zermatt. Thanks very much for finding the time to speak to me. Whereabouts are you just now, Pirmin?
Yeah, just now I'm driving from Zermatt to the Valley of Saas because actually I'm of the Valley of the Saas, and so I have to move from time to time to my home little village and coming back, yes.
Okay, great. And the reason I'm speaking to you is you're an ambassador for the speed opening downhill races in Zermatt. I was lucky enough to be in Zermatt last week, and I spoke to Christian, the director of the races. I know that you are one of the most successful racers ever. 4 overall World Cup wins, Olympic gold in 1988. I wondered if I could just start off by asking you what you considered to be your greatest achievements when you were racing.
Wow, when you have a career of sport like I have it, where I could done it, so you have different moments that they are very important for you, and you see the success is what and the results sometimes a little bit with different eyes after years, but actually, we say all the times, when you can win the World Cup, I think for an athlete, it's the biggest part what you can do, and sportly side, it's something unforgettable, very, very interesting, and it was very exciting.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was racing at university at the time that you were at your peak, and I found the battle between yourself and I think Mark Girardelli was probably one of your great rivals, was just fascinating to follow, at that time. I'm interested to know what you think about, do you think racing has changed since the time that you were competing?
That's changed all the times. And I think today they try to improve and to be always a little bit more professional and to change different things than what's happened in the last few years with the material, but also with the snow conditions. That's automatically you have to change the course. Sometimes you have to make it more turny because the speed is coming higher and higher.
Yeah.
It was not so bumpy for sports sides for athlete, but the speed it was incredible high. When you see what's this athlete what they're doing today, that's very impressive also for me. And then the other parts what we see we could doing our sports when we tell us this way. Even a little bit in the part to not for everybody. You had a private life still, but today you have the social media. You have to sell you differently. There is what's going the biggest difference in my opinion.
No, I can understand that makes a lot of difference for everybody. Speed opening, they are going to be multiple downhill races, 2 men's downhill races and 2 women's downhill races on consecutive weekends at the end of October and the beginning of November. The course has been designed by another very famous Swiss skier, Didier Défago. What do you think of the course itself?
Listen, how it's looking today, it could be and can be a very interesting downhill. A little bit all the parts what you need for the downhill. I think what's very important is how they're going to set it the course straight on this slope. That can be changed still, and even in the last minute a little bit the downhill how do you say structure or interesting part. And I'm waiting a little bit on this part in this moment how they're going to set it, because you have a large bright slope, but you can do different things. Didier Défago, he did make a wonderful job. He had designed a course. I think it could be very spectacular. But we have still to wait until this the last part is set.
The course is due to be quite long, 4 kilometres long, 1,000-metre drop. Do you think it's a sort of course that would suit you?
It's a little bit a tough question for everybody. When you speak with the athletes, we had longer parts, we had a little bit longer downhills in our time. Today the competition is coming shorter, but they need more power. So it's going to be a funny development to see what the athlete going to do in this situation. But I think now we have a good solution that we don't start from the first year from all the top. So I think that the athlete can also to practice a little bit in this high level on 3,500 meters. So they know in the next year a little bit better what they need for this condition, also for all the physics, what they needed. And I think it's just a question about the development and also the program, what the athlete is going to do it. Finally, we have the best athletes on the world, on the slopes, and they will handle it very good, I'm sure.
Just to reiterate the point, it will be the highest ever start for a World Cup race, starting from the glacier in Zermatt at Matterhorn Glacier Paradise. So it will be a different challenge for the athletes. I was in Zermatt and I went up to climb Matterhorn last week. Now, the glacier is open for people to practice at the moment, but it's closed for the public. That is because there wasn't as much snow last season, but also because it was a very warm summer. I wonder what your thoughts are for the future of racing in the context of climate change.
Yeah, we have a long story in our history on the Alps, and we know many years ago we had a lot of snow in the 70s, and then it was coming very dry. We don't know what's going to happen in the next few years. The skiing part, they have to adapt and to look for solution. That we can make, we can continue to have this kind of nice race. We hope can handle it that even in a few years. But for the moment, it's quite tough. That's right. We had a very dry winter. The last time it was very snowing. It was the 6th of December 21.
Christian said to me that essentially they just need to have around 50 centimetres of snow on the glacier. Which, there's should be a very good chance that will happen as temperatures drop. In relation to climate change, do you worry about some of the classic courses which are, held at a much lower altitude?
I don't worry so much. We have to handle it how it's coming. To accept that we're going to have just a competition on this highest level of the glacier part or to 3,000 meters. That could be also a little bit tough for all the racers and also for the spectacle to follow, the people to follow this race.
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of the advantages of Zermatt in the context of where it's being held is with the 3S lift coming up from Zermatt and the Alpine crossing, which will be completed in spring 2023, that pedestrians will be able to, get up high to be able to view the race, which will make a difference. Well, obviously, I very much hope that we have a good snow season this year, and particularly some good snow over the next kind of 6 to 8 weeks prior to the event. I've got one more question for you, Pirmin, if you wouldn't mind. I wonder what advice you would offer for young racers at the start of their career right now. If someone, is a keen racer, what would be the best tip that you could offer them?
I think we have always to know that ski sport is a little bit a dangerous sport. You can be injured. The fourth sport, what I tell to everybody, listen, try to learn something beside your sport. Don't touch everything just on sport, but let you inspire you also from this wonderful sport of skiing. It's something unbelievable, and also from the touch to the snow, from the competition to be the fastest, and to looking how you can handle it and in the best your possibilities of your bodies and everything. It's just a super experience, and I can just open the door for everybody to do it and make it. I think it's a good part of their life.
Well, that sounds like great advice. Do it. Take advantage. Seize the day, you might say in English. Great. Well, that's brilliant, Pirmin. Thanks so much for giving us your time. And I'm sure you'll be very busy over the next few weeks until the races. We'll all be looking out for speed opening when it happens. I know you're driving at the moment, so thanks very much for your time and for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this special episode of the Ski Podcast about the speed opening downhill events in Zermatt and Cervinia. I certainly enjoyed speaking to both Christian and Pirmin, and I'll be looking forward to watching them this autumn, hopefully, with snow willing. If you'd like to listen to more episodes of the Ski Podcast, don't forget to subscribe. They come out every fortnight during the winter with other bonus episodes in between. Thanks very much for listening.